The algorithm is our mindset, because just like in life, the things that we pay attention to, that is exactly where our energy goes. It's your boy Zay-P, Zay-P that I am. I am that I am, as you are that you are, for we are all that we are. Your boy's back at it, back with a brand new video about the metaverse, in the sense that this is the evolution of what we have today with the internet as it stands. But the thing that I see happening a lot right now is the manipulations. There's a lot of manipulations going on in various platforms, right? From both the traditional secular media, right, and also in social media, whether that's issues like censorship, and whether that's issues like force feeding people negative stories, negative energy, to keep people locked in, to keep the eyeballs engaged on the social media platforms. These are all kinds of manipulations. They're very much so psyops. You've heard stories and cases where particular CEOs, having the information, knowing that their algorithms, their pre-programming of these social media platforms are targeting people, are actually using and manipulating people's sensitivities, and actually kind of creating a scenario to keep people locked in, to keep you locked in the platform, to keep your eyeballs engaged, stuck on that screen. And so, sitting with spirit and meditation, what's been coming up with me is this idea that as we evolve and we're going into higher levels, there's even more talk of the simulation. And if you haven't heard of the simulation theory, there's this theory that the universe, God, etc., it can really all be boiled down to just kind of a simulation. Just like the computer is a simulated brain, right? The computer does exactly what the brain does, except for the computer has much more expanse to hold information, to hold data. Everything we've created in this life has really been kind of a facsimile of what life already gives us, of what we ourselves, as the most advanced piece of technology, this mind-body complex that we have, our avatars. Everything else is just kind of simulating and replicating that. And so with that, the same thing is occurring with algorithms. And what Spirit is telling me is really that the algorithm is your mindset. It is your mindset in a way that so many people are not actually getting, because just like in spirituality, and we have to be very careful with this thought and with this teaching, because the spirituality, this can lead to spiritual bypassing. And I'm not advocating for spiritual bypassing, but there's a level of truth in the fact that energy goes where attention flows. The things that you're looking at day to day, the things that you are investing your attention into, that is exactly where you're sending your energy, right? And so this is a lot why spiritual bypassing actually occurs, because people will start to take that insight and start to make it a thing of like, well, I have to ignore and dismiss the plight of humanity and ignore all the ways that others may be suffering, right? Like, this is when this teaching can become kind of toxic. But this teaching is not about that, because the fact of the matter is there's a way to be compassionate and balance that, and still have the mindfulness to recognize that most of your energy, that you're best suited in focusing on building and cultivating your best self, and focusing on healing yourself from your own traumas, and focusing on creating the best life you can, right? But again, that kind of teaching can lead to a slippery slope of selfishness, of self-centered. And the idea with life, us as avatars and expressions of life, it is our job to be in harmony with life, right? And so it is not just making the best life for ourselves, but actually creating a life that maybe doesn't cause harm to others, creating a life that maybe inspires others to live their best life, so that we have this ripple effect. But what can happen, again, is like people can slip and fall into spiritual bypassing and just ignoring things that could affect them, that maybe should affect them, for the sole selfish, self-serving purpose of just focusing on themselves. There's a level that we need to do that, though. There is a very important level that we do need to focus on ourselves first and foremost, and not just ourselves individually, but whether that's ourselves in our family, whether that's our life expression, the type of work we do, the ways we invest our energy. So that said, going back to the idea that the algorithm is our mindset, because just like in life, the things that we pay attention to, that is exactly where our energy goes. Now, if you can look at the media and everything that's happening in the world around us, you'll see lots of news stories and lots of issues of the racism popping. There's still a lot of racism here in the West, across the globe, in all honesty. You can see it in a lot of the coverage with the Ukraine. And you'll see all sorts of political issues and things that really inflame people's spirits. But the media, social media, they profit and they benefit from our swaying emotions, from the way we invest our energy into it, right? And so just like with the mindset, the things we focus on, our energy flows to. So if you're focusing on all of the racism you see out in the world, if I focus on all of the racism I see out in the world, I start to tap back into that same kind of energy. I start to feel the same kind of anger and the same kind of dismay. I start to lose sight of the fact that there's a lot of areas where racism is being broken down, that there's a lot of beautiful people who I meet day to day who are really working hard to dispel their own ignorance, to really try to become allies, to try to unify and work together. There's a lot of good stuff happening out there, but you won't see it because the news and the media and even social media is pumping out the negative stuff. Because people don't respond to the positive stuff, we respond to the negative stuff psychologically. We've been programmed that way. I mean, since we were children, right? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Those are the things that move us. So that said, as we start to feed into those negative stories and our energy starts to leave there, we find ourselves either addicted or kind of stuck in that mindset, stuck in that pattern, and we find ourselves kind of hooked into that energy and into those energy cycles. Right? But when we're mindful enough to bring ourselves out of it, to look at other aspects of the world around us and to find other things that offset that energy, positive things, ways that energy is actually invalidated and proven to be wrong, you start to fill your own energetic reserves with more positive side of the spectrum. And so back to the idea that the algorithm, because these social media platforms, and as we move into this next phase of technology, are going to be profiting off of people's pain and misery, are going to be profiting off of pushing the more addictive content, the car crash, right? The car crash that you can't seem to look away from. That's what's being pushed to keep us in that place. That is basically the ultimate subset of our mindset. If the algorithm starts to become so curated to negativity, to things that don't really serve you, and that becomes your entire feed, that is because your mindset is there. That is because your energy is going where your intention is flowing. You're choosing to look at these things. You're choosing to stress about these things. You're choosing to overstress or worry yourself and all of these extra things. And this is not to say you don't have reason to stress. The potential of World War III, obviously that's going to give anybody reason to stress if they really feed into that, right? However, you could also make a choice to pull back, to recognize World War III is not here in the present moment, to recognize maybe there's not anything you can do if World War III breaks out. Maybe your energy is better focusing here on your life. Even if you want to make global change, maybe your energy is better focused in your local politics, in reaching out, doing something positive or doing something to offset the fear, as opposed to just stressing out about the negative worst case scenario, which is what the media is going to be pumping. It's going to be pumping the negative worst case scenarios because that's what hooks you. That's what gets you locked in. And so if you're not mindful, The things the media are going to be feeding you, you're going to be believing, you're going to think and see the world as this dark, shadowy, negative place, that things are not getting better, that things are not healing, that people are not healing, that people are not evolving. But that will become the truth of your experience. That is not the universal truth. And you can lean into a better timeline, a better perspective, and to better mindset simply with choice, with mindful choice. What are you choosing to invest your energy into? What are you choosing to look at every day? What are the lessons you're choosing to learn? What are you choosing to look at? Where is your energy going? Attention goes where energy flows. And so when you understand that, you understand the algorithm is reflective of our own mindsets. And if you want to see your algorithms amongst all the social medias, amongst TV, or you want to see these things up level or get better, then you have to pick and choose. Just like with movies and cinema, and you vote with the dollar. That's what they say, right? You vote with your dollar. Where do you spend your money? Energy goes where your attention flows. And because of that, the algorithms across the board are reflective of our own personal mindsets. And so to break away from this idea that everybody is doing this stuff to us, that these powers that be, that the social media and the media, they do have their power. They have influence. But at the end of the day, you are solely responsible for what you're choosing to look at, for what you're choosing to invest your energy to. You are responsible for the algorithm that you yourself are programming. So that's the video for today. Hope this message resonates. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Be your boy Zay. I'm out.